All right.
Right now we're recording.
It's recording.
Okay, good morning. It's February 18th. The time is 9:06 a.m. and this is the Ulster County Legislative, Ulster County Industrial Development Agency meeting. Can I have a call to order? Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Quick roll call. Michael Ham, present. Rachel Silverman.
Present.
Stephen Kelly. Present. Joseph Ferraro is absent with notice. Randall Everett.
Present.
Trevor Kerwin.
Present.
And Costabwala is absent with notice. Thank you. We have a quorum. The mission statement of the Ulster County Industrial Development Agency is to advance the job opportunities, general prosperity, and long-term economic vitality of Ulster County residents by targeting tax incentives, bonding, and other assistance to foster creation and the attraction of new business and retention and expansion of existing business. In front of you, you will have the regular board minutes from January 21st, 2026 on page 3. I ask that you review them, and then we'll enter into motion to accept.
I just want small change.
Yeah.
Me absent, double assistant secretary, should be assistant treasurer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a typo.
Typo.
Thank you.
Typo.
So
I will fix
just-
that.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Nope.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Trevor, second?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, in front of you, you also have the approval.
You gotta vote.
We got to
Vote
vote.
on here.
I'm sorry.
in a hurry.
I was in a hurry. Yes.
You could do both sets of minutes if you want.
That's what I was going to combine the two
That's fine.
because of the approvals.
I did not make the mistake on the
Okay.
second one.
Thanks. Okay, I'll tell you what. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, approval of the annual board minutes, January 21st, 2026 on page 9.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public comment on agenda items only.
Who wants to go first?
Nobody else is going?
I don't know.
Okay, if I put this on the table?
Yeah, could you stand on that end?
Just otherwise-
Because of the camera, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got it. Sure. I'll sit. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karen Hagstrom from Stanger, Glass, Hagstrom, Lindars, and ULE. I am here to speak about the granary project. Can you just give me an idea how many minutes do I have, just so I know? How many minutes does she have?
Usually get 3, but we'll
Okay.
give, I'll tell you what,
Okay.
we could get your thought
I'm
out.
normally
Yeah,
not
that's fine.
too long, hopefully. Okay, so I appreciate that the board went back to the applicant because I saw the new application has some of the information that we had said was lacking from the previous application filled in. But the problem still remains on, so the first thing for this board to decide whether it has any conflicts, they have to identify the company ownership. So they did give you a few more names. However, for example, they put CG88 Associates LLC. That doesn't tell me anything. Do you know who the members of the LLC are? I don't. You can't determine if you have a conflict. And that's in direct contradiction to what the instructions, it's not as if they don't know, on the form ask them to provide. It says list all stockholders members. There are members in an LLC. They are not listed. So what are they trying to hide? Who are they trying to hide? We've directed them to this. They've come back to you and given you an incomplete response. The directions say to attach an organizational ownership chart with complete name, date of birth, home address, office held, and other principal businesses. None of that from the instructions is with the revised application. As for the litigation, I see they now acknowledge that that exists. I do have a copy of our appellate brief. I just wanted to advise the IDA. It was filed on February 4th, so we did perfect our appeal. Part of what our appeal is about is that the applicant keeps changing square footage of the project between, they first had to go to the town board to get a conceptual plan approval to get the overlay zone. Then they had to go to the planning board to get site plan approval. And they keep changing what the uses of certain buildings and square footage is. For example, in the, they all of a sudden in the planning board, they triple the square footage of the restaurant. So we just can't pin down what is this project. You know, my clients are Susan Bruck, Jay Martin. They're not completely against this project. They just think it's too big. And this is like nailing Jello. We can't figure out what is the project. The applicant is just not being clear, and I don't know why. In front of this board, they're saying we're going to have, what was it? Art and children's community space and flexible community space. That is not on the plan before the planning board. It's not an approved use. If they do that, it's in violation. They're saying we have, before the town board, they said they were going to have an inn with 5 guest rooms. Before you, and 2 units for employees. Before you, they're saying they're having a 15-room bed and breakfast. Why? What, you know, which is it? I don't know, and I can't tell. Part of the appeal also was about a certain building called the coal elevator. So obvious parking is at a premium in the town of Accord. That's an issue. The town board required them to have 63 parking spots. The local law that the town has says that what the planning board approves has to be in substantial conformance with what the town board approved, which was 63 parking spots. And this will come to this application. The town board, they said, we're going to use that coal elevator as a gallery and we're assigning 4 parking spots. To the planning board, they say, nope, we're no longer going to use the coal elevator. And can you eliminate the 6 off-street parking spots that you asked us to supply? And the planning board said no, which is part of why we appealed. Also, because the architectural plans that were before the planning board, now that they've represented they're not using it, label it as, quote, event space. And you need permits for a commercial, you know, entertainment facility or you know, an event space facility in the town of Rochester. And now before you, once again, what I'm saying now, they're saying we are going to have art and children's community space and flexible community space. What does that do to the parking that's already been fiddled with between what the town board approved, what it has to be in substantial conformance to the planning board, and now what they're putting before you?
This is the granary,
Yes.
the granary.
Yes.
Okay.
So the other issue, main issue that I see with this application is the $11 million. They're telling you their project is going to cost $11 million. I don't see any substantiation of that number. There's one page in the application where they say it's $7 million of construction. But where is a pro forma financial document for this board to review? There isn't one. How do we know this project really costs 11 million? And what we do know is that they already have 4.5 million of that secured, $4 million in a tax credit and another 500,000 in a grant. That's over a third of the project is already funded. So they have to prove to you, right? I don't have to tell you, but right? If but for this funding, they could not do this project. How do we know that? There's nothing in here to substantiate that. And they're also telling you in their application, we're going to make through sales $4.1 million a year from this project with no substantiation of that either. Well, that amounts to about $11,000 a day. That doesn't sound realistic to me. And if they're making $11,000 a day, then they don't need your funding. So there are a lot of inconsistencies and things that, again, the $11 million is basically an imaginary number that I don't see any support for at all in their application. So with that, I mean, I would like to just file a copy of our brief with you where at page, 28 and 29, we discussed too the issues that I've presented to you orally about the site plan. And we actually, even though the IDA hadn't, happened in the record for the appeal prior, we actually added in and asked the appellate court to consider the discrepancies between the town board, the planning board, and the current IDA application.
Has the planning board approved
Yes.
this?
They
Have.
approved it, and that's what the Article 78 is about, that we
Okay.
challenged their approval. The lower court judge upheld the approval, and then we have now appealed that. And I think what we're saying is that we were right to question those approvals because now they're giving a third version. There was the town board version, the planning board version. Actually, the planning board version has two aspects to it. And now a different project they're claiming before you.
Is there any other people that have signed on to this lawsuit? I mean, aside from the two people that you're representing?
No, I mean,
Okay.
they wouldn't.
Just curious.
It just started with them. It's never,
Just curious.
yeah. It's
So
been
so
going on for a
you
long time.
represent
I represent Susan Bruck and Jay Martin, both.
residents of Ackworth?
Yes, Jay
Okay.
lives right next to the project. Susan
Okay.
lives down the street, and they are my clients.
Okay.
And again, they're not against the project completely. They just think it, when they say we don't have water or sewer, that's why it's going to be expensive. That's the whole point, that they're saying this neighborhood, especially with parking and all those other issues, just is not designed to accommodate this level of a project. But before you, it's really, do they need this funding? And I'm not seeing any proof that they do. A third of it's already funded. They haven't shown you any financials or breakdown of construction or what things are going to cost or what their expenses are. I can't make heads or tails of this. So I hope that you would go back to the applicant at the very least. And again, not identifying who are funding the project, the company ownership with greater than 5%. They're not doing it. They're giving you an LLC name and not complying with all the other requirements of date of birth, home address, office held, and any other businesses. So I thank everybody for giving me time this morning. I'll give the appellate brief over to your attorney. Do you have any other questions?
No, not this time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items only?
Do you want us to present 615 Broad?
Oh, no, it's on the agenda later on.
Okay, so
So you're-
okay.
Okay. Executive session. Council?
Chair, I don't have anything to discuss. I don't know if you,
No, I'm fine. Anyone? No? Okay. I'm good. Okay, chair's report. So we've seen a lot of activity over at the IDA. People are coming to us with projects. We're vetting them out. If they merit, we're moving them along with an application. And Hillary's doing a heck of a job over there. She's really bringing a lot of people to the doorstep that need assistance. So, I applaud her great work and the great work of this board. You guys have been doing a lot of stuff. You show up for everything. You come in on special stuff, take phone calls. It's great. So, I want to thank everybody. So moving into the new year here, I think we're looking for a good year, 26. And with that, I will leave it to the executive director, Hillary Nichols.
All right, thank you, Chair. So as soon as my notes load, which today is just that kind of day for me. So I guess I'll start off with Paris. We are working on our Paris report. We still anticipate having an on-time filing for March. We have been, a few of our projects have had, I would say, some staff turnover, and it's leading to a little bit of a slow reporting on 3 projects. All of them are more than aware that they are not in compliance with reporting timely. So, I know Costup isn't here, but we do have a governance meeting on the agenda for March. I anticipate having those documents by March, but we will be referring that non-compliance to governance at that time.
Question.
Yes.
Do we not specify or clarify when we sign documents with them that regardless of staff turnover,
Oh, yeah.
that they're,
They're still
and
responsible.
Oh, they
still
know.
do
It's
it?
not a,
Okay.
it's
Yes.
sometimes,
There's still
There's
no,
no confusion here.
there's no
Yes,
confusion.
okay.
I think sometimes what happens is we mail it out and then we email it to the contact that we had from the prior year. And then we ask them to confirm their receipt. And then we send out reminders about 2 weeks before. And then anyone who really hasn't responded to the reminders at all at that point, we start kind of getting on the phone and trying to figure out why we haven't heard from them. So even when there is turnover, the new person is aware and has time to submit without incurring late fees. So trust me, when I say that we are in
Okay, well, that's better than what we
communication-
used to have, because it was like, oh, I didn't know I had to do this,
Well, yeah,
so.
we still get the,
Cats.
I didn't know we had to do this, but then I say, well, you do, and these are the late fees, and so let's go. And some of them do really, that lights a fire, and others kind of are like, oh, we're busy, but don't worry, I'm working on it. So we're really at the, don't worry, I'm working on it, people, and I am working them. So I promise you that we will have this put together on time, whether, however that has to happen, we will make it happen.
Hillary, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
It might be a good idea before we close each of these transactions, just to, maybe it's on me to talk to their counsel, just to remind them that this annual report, it's in the documents, but just know that going forward on an annual basis, you'll have to do this. So maybe
Yeah.
that's just, maybe we'd hammer that a little
A
more.
little more, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, it's usually like someone in accounting office or an
Right.
HR person that's doing this, and if that position turns over, it sometimes, takes a minute to find the new person. But we found the new person in every case, and we are working with them to get those documents in. And then just kind of continuing on Paris, so our outside accounting firm, PKF O'Connor Davies, was on site last week working on our audit. We anticipate them to be presenting the audited financial statements to the audit committee in March. That will happen right before our regular meeting, so I would encourage all of you to attend the audit committee to hear their report out. And at this time, that's going well with getting documents to that. Also kind of working on, talking about administrative things going on in the agency. We've been interviewing for our admin position. So far, so good, but we have yet to identify a candidate. And I know I've said this now for a couple months, but I'm really hoping in March we will welcome a new administrative assistant to the agency. So from there, I kind of want to move over to things going on with our new legislative committee that our board reports to, which is the Committee of Arts, Culture, Education, Agriculture, and Economic Development. I believe I got them all.
Quite a time.
So we
It's
presented
an acronym.
to the committee at their February meeting, which I believe was on the 2nd. At that point, they moved forward a resolution to reappoint all current board members, which was approved last night by the full legislative committee. And that's going to be a 1-year term. I think we're trying to align ourselves. They're all sitting in a 1-year term right now, or new members are sitting in a 1-year term, and then returning members. So everyone's kind of up for reelection. And so they elected, as opposed to going through a very long process of interviewing, reviewing candidates, to move forward everyone for another year. So I'm really hoping everyone's on board with that, and we're excited to have everyone sit
Lucky
here
us.
and volunteer for
Randall was
another
the most
year.
excited.
So we will arrange likely at the March or April meeting, really depending on the schedule of the county clerk's office, to have everyone reconfirmed into their roles. So if you have once we get that set up, I'll let everyone know, but if there's meetings you already know you may have a conflict with, please let us know in advance so we can be sure to get you confirmed into your seat. from there, we've been trying to get out and about doing, spreading the word on the IDA and economic development. The weather really hasn't been great for that, but March looks really packed, so we're excited to kind of start moving forward in March with a little more, community engagement. We've got a few sessions lined up that we're working on. And then additionally, we're looking to do a community larger public outreach session in May or June. I no longer trust the month of April to be snow-free, so we want to wait till the weather is really on our side. Last year we were in the town of Esopus, which was wonderful. The year before that, we were out in Rosendale. I think this year we're looking to get a little, move our way a little north to hit some people who are more in the Saugerties Kingston area to be sure they can attend. So we're currently looking at sites. Once we've got, some costs nailed down, we'll likely come to the board with that information. And then lastly, just want to touch on projects. We continue to see projects, strong start to 2026. And again, we appreciate everyone coming and reviewing these projects and looking forward to seeing more exciting things in the coming months. Oh, and then site visits. Thank you for everyone who's started on those. We're in the process of scheduling. If you haven't heard from me, I did send everyone out their sites that I'd like you to go see. And then, I'm just trying to get to everyone and coordinate. There are certain sites I want to be there with you. So, I appreciate everyone's patience with that. Questions, comments, thoughts?
No, the site visits, I'm telling you, if you have never been on one, if you haven't done it, which I know everybody here's done it, so. But it's an opportunity to see exactly what's going on those footprints. There's some really, really interesting projects that we're involved in, so. You got Brooklyn Bottling?
Yeah, afternoon. We're going.
Yeah, this afternoon?
nice.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, that's pretty wild. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, to piggyback off of Hillary, just make sure you coordinate your site visits, okay?
Yes, they actually mentioned that they had a great experience working with Randall, and they were excited to hear you were back on the board.
See,
So,
yeah, oh, bet.
Like,
You want to come with us? We're going into. We're going tonight, this afternoon. You should come.
so, okay, is that it, Hill?
That's all I have, unless there are questions. Okay.
Anything? Okay, great report. Committee report, Steve.
The audit, the Loki Bureau report is on page 13. I really don't have anything to add to it. It's there and it seems about the same as it's been.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Finance, Rachel?
No, unless we need to give an update on the new CD rates we got but we're not gonna use
We had
them.
approved, so we did get a quote finally. It just came in later than the meeting from Bank of Greene County, which is the other bank that can accept municipal deposits, and their rates for CDs were, I think, 2% and 2.5. So I know the board had approved the 3% at M&T. We did go ahead and open those accounts, so I think we got a good rate.
Exactly. Just confirming we made a good choice.
Great.
That's it.
Okay, governance, I'm sorry, Rachel, that it?
That was it.
Thank you. Governance, Costume's not here. He's always got a great report. I look forward to hearing him next month. Let's roll into old business, council.
Sure, Chair. Pending transactions start on page 16. As you can see, we have 8 projects that are percolating. Some of these have been delayed a little bit for a bunch of different reasons, but I think we're going to close a few of these the first quarter, and I'm looking to close at least half of them, more than that, by the second quarter. And then pending enforcement, the Kingstonian matter, we've discussed that at length with this board. We're in the process of obtaining a portion of the IDA's admin fee. It'll be happening before the 20th, so that's in good shape as well. That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, discussion on the public comments from the Accord LLC, the Granary project.
Project
Yeah.
is also here.
Yes, Brandon's
So-
here, right?
No,
Oh, no, I'm sorry,
Henry.
Henry's here.
Brandon
I
is.
seen Brandon over in the corner too. I didn't see Henry in the beginning. Yeah, let's,
Ms. tell people where things are at least.
Does everybody have a copy of, yeah, everybody's
Yeah.
reviewed
So,
all the
yeah.
information there, it was all sent out.
In your packet, you should have the application, the cost benefit analysis, and then all of the an updated application. So
Which one's this? That's it.
I just want to let everyone know that the project did make some updates to their application. We've got the cost benefit analysis. We've also included a significant, all of the comments received. We did receive, just for clarity, we did receive some public, we received some public comments on today's agenda items that were written. So for, I think just having a smooth meeting, I included those comments in with with the rest of the public comments that were received, just so the board doesn't have to discuss it twice. So
What
those have been
page was
included.
that?
So the second round of public comments came in starting on page 96. I believe there were 3 comments that came in after the public comment period had ended. So those are starting on page 96, but then the entirety of the public comments starts on page 52. And then I hope everyone had a chance, those who were not able to attend in person, watch the public hearing that was held on February 5th. And then the project's also here to answer any questions the board may.
My question, based on the comments we just received here, some of those things seem that they could be easily rectified.
Yeah.
Is that something, I mean, I thought it was procedure for us, anybody with 5% interest or whatever, they needed to be enumerated. So if that's not in the application, I mean, I'm assuming
It's-
some of those
yeah.
things can be
I-
quickly addressed, right?
Yeah, I let Chris go,
Yeah.
so.
I
Okay.
think that she made a good point about the LLC, the membership of that LLC, the actual
But they're
members.
less than 5%.
It is less than 5%.
It's less than
Yeah,
5%.
No, it's not.
No.
It's not.
It's not?
No, you've got 2 limited partners that are less than 5%.
CG88 Associates, 8.7.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think probably, barring, we don't want to disclose anything that would be
Right.
embarrassing, et cetera, too much, I would say we would clean that up and make the application specify who those people are.
That's easy.
I will say that, and
Go for it.
obviously it was public comment, I didn't want to respond directly to some of her
Mhm.
questions, but a couple things. One, the IDA doesn't need to get a pro forma. You can request one if you want, but it's certainly not a legal requirement. Most of the things that she hit on they weren't legal conclusions. They were just her opinions. So we don't need to get a pro forma. If we want to get a pro forma from the project applicant, we can. Everything all right?
Oh, no, it's fine.
Best of all.
It's working.
Oh,
As long
that was-
as-
that
It's
was Steve's
dinging.
phone.
Oh, that was
My
Steve's
phone.
phone.
So that's the first thing. The second thing, she discussed a lot about the town's process and the project being different from what the town approved. I think she's kind of combining those incorrectly. I mean, the town's process and the IDA's process are entirely separate. Obviously, they're doing Article 78 proceeding against the town. If they want, and I'm just talking bluntly here, if they wanted to do an Article 78 proceeding against the IDA, they could. The onus would be on them to prove that we made an arbitrary and capricious decision by moving forward with the project. So that, considering the lengthy discussions we've had, including today about the project, hearing from all the public, going through the public comments, that's a tough standard. I'm not saying it's insurmountable, but should the board move forward to approve this project at the next meeting, we're very comfortable that we would withstand an Article 78 proceeding. So a lot of what she talked about in her letter, obviously some of the stuff it's good to clean up the application whenever you can. There's a few myths she had, that's fine. But overall, there's nothing really there. And I thought it was reaching.
But the planning board there approved it.
Yeah.
No?
We did approve it. Now
So-
they're saying that they're arguing, that's what the Article
Which
7
day
AUC,
is the
they're
day?
saying they shouldn't have approved it for XYZ reasons.
Who's saying? The planning board is now
No,
saying,
no,
or
no, no.
the lawyer?
This
The lawyer.
lawsuit,
Okay.
Bruck and Martin filed an Article 78 proceeding against the town of Rochester Planning Board and the project applicant. Okay, Town of Rochester Planning Board, they filed that Article 7A proceeding because the town board approved the project. They did an Article 7A proceeding and the trials court said, no, town was fine, they made the correct decision. They're now appealing that decision by the trial court, and that's what this is. So,
Because
but
ultimately,
again, that's apples and oranges to our.
some of the things
Right,
that, that were brought up come down to, if the scale of the project is enlarging, so to speak, that is a building department planning board decision, not the IDA. As long as there's no financial impact to the IDA and what we approved,
Right. And we're
or
certainly,
will, would
correct.
approve, that's the end of it. It's bottom line. But if they said, you know what, by the way, we're adding 25,000 square feet and we need an additional $500,000, that's a horse of a different color.
Yes,
So-
and of course, I would advise you not to move forward with closing the transaction until this is ironed out. To
Absolutely.
make sure the planning board and all that matters put to bed. I have no idea how long that'll take. I'm not a litigator, but we wouldn't want to make sure that's buttoned up.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, thinking of what she was, I mean, some of those things, as I said, seem to be easily rectified with the applicant
Yeah,
as it relates to us, because at the
Absolutely.
end of the day,
Right.
the law is we take no action until the planning board has given its final approval.
Right.
It's almost like where we were with respect to New Paltz.
My opinion though is once we clean up, let's say we clean up this part of the application, then there's going to be something else that's wrong with it.
absolutely.
I think this is just a tactic.
I agree with counsel that the 8.7% underneath the LLC should be defined a little bit cleaner, okay? Other than that, everything else was an opinion, okay? And that's my opinion.
And the
Yeah,
other thing, I don't want to interrupt you, Chair. The other item was, and it came across in some of the public comments, and she brought it up, the fact the project is getting grant money from the state. That's not dispositive. That doesn't mean you can't do an IDA project.
No,
A lot
you
of,
could-
a lot of IDA
right.
projects have this kind of financing. That's
Yeah,
not,
it's-
oh, you've got enough money, so you don't need
Kingstonian
the money
has
from the
it, you're
IDA financing.
state.
That's not
money.
right.
Who,
That's incorrect.
But we're not in a finance stack somewhere where they say like, oh, well, you got this money and
Right.
that's.
That's
you
a
don't
low hanging
do
fruit
the last
argument.
one.
Yeah.
who was present that night for the public hearing? Steve, you were there, right? Yep.
Yeah,
Trev, you were there.
That was, yes.
yeah.
So
I
one
was
of the
online.
things that I'll share with the board really quick is during the public hearing, people came to speak, against it, for it, but the people that were against it asked us, we don't engage, right? But they asked the board, why are you spending money on this project when you could be putting in housing out here? And afterwards, I was talking to some people and I said, you don't understand. The IDA is only as good as the application that is brought in front of them. We do not just go out and build housing. We just don't go out. We don't give away. We don't give away taxpayer money. We don't do that.
Right.
So it's an application process. We're focused on this alone. And there was a good amount of people had no understanding about what this pilot was or how it worked, or, it's already assumed, and we've been down this road, all of us, you don't pay any taxes. No, you do. You do. You never
Real
fall
life
underneath that bar. But, we were trying to explain it to, some people in the room, but, their focus was, why don't you improve our infrastructure? Why don't you build streets? Remember the road?
Yeah.
And I went, we don't do that, So, that's where, I know everybody's been attending the public hearings, which I think is very healthy for this board to see, and, once again, we don't engage that public hearing, but afterwards, people will approach you, so.
And another reason to continue the education that Heather is doing. We have presentations every year to kind of try to educate. Because the pilot's a confusing animal. It
Yeah.
is to some people. And I think once you kind of explain that taxes on the property are gonna stay the same, you're only getting real property tax abatement on the improvements. You're not getting screwed out of property tax and that.
This all falls back to education on this.
Yeah.
Hillary bashes her head against the wall trying to bring in supervisors, clerks, assessors, everyone to the table so she can sit down and everybody can have a little discussion on what's going on here. And Randall, just as well as I know, oh, what do you mean? We filed that wrong, so it's an education, and it's a unique animal, and it really needs, people to do their due diligence on it to
Yeah.
move ahead, so.
And, I think just to reiterate that all the public comments we receive come from a good place. People do genuinely care about their community,
Mhm.
appreciate all of the comments that people receive, and we are going to be working to try to do a better public outreach of understanding. So, I think that the time people invest in reviewing these applications and coming to make their comments, I do sometimes feel bad that, had we been able to connect with them ahead of time and better understand how the pilots work and what the ask is in the application. Um, I feel bad sometimes people go to such lengths to give really well thought out comments, but unfortunately don't necessarily align with what the board has the ability to do. So.
And, we encourage all the public to come out to the public hearing in the community all the time. We look for their input. We discuss with people. My only advice is if you come to the public hearing, don't bring your pitchfork, okay?
Different
As
project,
was
different
put
project.
online by someone to bring their pitchfork to
Was that
a
New Paltz?
public hearing. Yeah.
That was like-
So anyway,
I was there.
we frown on
Somebody
weapons.
show for that
So,
one.
but any other
Didn't need
discussion?
to.
Our bar is low.
Any other discussion on this?
Not from my end, Chair.
Nope.
I have one quick question, clarification on the ownership. If it's 5% again, if it's an LLC inside an LLC, what's the disclosure level that's required? Do you need to know what's inside the second LLC, the nesting doll of whatever it is? Or like, what's the requirement?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I guess if you wanted to take it to its logical conclusion,
Ooh,
you'd have to
stump the
keep going until you figure out who's who.
But like, we need individuals. In other words,
Yeah.
what needs to be disclosed is the individual, not.
But again,
But at some point, an individual is not owning more than 5%, so they don't need to be
right,
disclosed.
we'd have to
I
kind
mean,
of, we'd have to kind of look at,
Arguably,
we'd have to look at a
an
org
LLC
chart to kind of figure it out.
that owns 8%, that has two people
Yeah.
owning it, would not need to disclose the names
Fair.
because neither
That's,
person
we just need to
owns
see the
5%.
ownership chart to see who's
Yeah.
who, and if that's correct.
I think what her point was looking for conflict of interest.
Right.
So.
Which is also.
But once again, I agree with council
Prepared.
on this week it's this, next week it'll be that, I mean, summarize what you want us to look at and get it over to the board so we can do our
What I
our
didn't
work.
understand, and I don't mean to get up on my.
Go for it.
I don't, once they figure out, let's say we figure out exactly who is in the LLC. Then what? I mean, she's couching it in terms of a conflict. To make sure there's no conflicts for what? What does that have to do with your lawsuit? Do you know what I mean?
But we would determine whether or not there was a conflict, would we,
Conflict
would
for
we
our-
not?
conflict
For-
from
With
our
respect to
board.
us?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
what's the conflict from their end?
Right, I
It's
mean,
not
if
really
I
a
was
winning
in it and
argument,
you were
but-
in it, that would be a conflict.
Yes, if all of a sudden Mike's name turned up
Hidden,
in the.
right, hidden in the
Correct.
LLC.
Correct.
That's the
What's your name?
reason
LLC?
for that.
Yes, not the other way around, not for them.
Right,
And-
So
Do you remember when Ham LLC came up that one time?
yeah.
That was a good one.
just for clarification, you're not involved in this project as a.
Yeah, no, I'm not involved in any projects here.
And, again, myself and Chris, we've been working with the project and the applicant, and they have indicated that they want to be very transparent. They've responded to any requests that we've given. They're here today if you have additional questions. So I think, from, again, not to take away anything from the public comment, but the idea that there is somehow like a shell game going on with the applicant, again, they're here, they're happy to answer questions, clarify
Okay.
things, update the application, so.
Sounds good.
So
Good.
you're saying we
Not
wait until this is, and what the planning board or whatever it is, the spitting contest they're in
I'm
with each
saying
other?
that from my perspective, you could approve the project at next month's meeting. But we should not close on the transaction until this is buttoned up. That's my.
Correct.
Okay, okay,
We already did that once.
Yep,
All right.
okay.
yeah, we did.
We don't want to do that again.
How many years
Okay.
later are we still?
Okay,
Yeah.
so discussions on the public comments for 3555 Highland LLC. That's from the February 5th, public hearing,
They are also here.
okay? And, well, before I skip to that, do you want to see if anybody wants Anybody wants to say anything? or no?
Oh, do you want, yeah,
Yeah,
would you like
before I jump ahead.
come up and say
Yeah.
something, Henry, and,
Yeah, sure.
Instead of us just talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah, Henry, you're just sitting over there, everybody's talking about you, so.
Yeah. The LLC is owned by George Olson. There's no secrecy. I'm happy to get more personal.
Yeah,
information, all right?
just get with Chris on that so that
Yeah,
can
we
get.
were just
cleaned
trying
up.
to follow the process.
Sure.
The LLC is technically the owner. Yeah, I think a lot of people came to the public hearing thinking that we would somehow be causing taxes to go up for residents in the town. This property in particular, taxes are extremely low. They go up immediately the first year of the pilot program. The property was actually sold at tax auction after not paying taxes for over a decade. So I think people had real concerns, but if you actually look at the property, we will be immediately paying into town and obviously the state taxes. And I think it will also have beneficial effect on other businesses' ability to function and pay taxes on Main Street corridor. That's part of the point of the downtown revitalization programs. It's also a historic project. And there was some, concern about SHPO and the fact that we're eligible for some tax credits. There's just sure anybody who's done historic renovation, I'm not sure we're coming out ahead. It's extremely expensive. And about the lawsuit, this individual has a number of lawsuits going at any given moment with different businesses and boards in the town. I'd be happy to answer questions about the lawsuit, its merits. I will say, this is on the record, the lawsuit, I believe, was filed at the last possible moment after our approval. It was delayed the maximum number of times. We won. The appeal was filed at the last possible moment. It's being delayed and delayed and delayed to the last possible moment. So that's the context of this lawsuit. It is, it's, expensive to deal with. It's delaying the project. But I think if you look into the details, it's not a terribly serious case, and we've already won it. So,
And Henry, not to interrupt you, but I will interrupt you. People, once again, I go back to the fact that the IDA is very unique. People don't know the working mechanisms of the IDA. We do have in there, in the IDA, and it'll be in your agreement, we have a clawback provision. At any time, if you're not living up to your contract with the IDA, that can come into play. We've only initiated it one time before, and it was, it wasn't done lightly. It was done with a lot of healthy discussion before we did it, but we did do it. So, we are watchdogs on that. And, we just like the public to also know that is also out there. And when, we've never had a problem with really any clients whatsoever,
No.
except for one. That was it. And, anyway, you can get with Chris.
Yeah.
We get that part cleaned up a little bit and whatever council needs. And, we'll just keep going ahead.
Is there
So-
anything else that would prevent us from voting on this next month?
No, not from my perspective. I think we've looked at all the public comments. We've heard from council on this lawsuit against the town, planning board. I think we've had a rigorous discussion, to say the least. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has.
So
in
this
the coming
prop-
month.
So the property was recaptured from an auction because the previous owners
Didn't pay.
didn't pay.
Correct.
Kind of, sort of
Yeah.
like
they
this
let
thing
it-
up here.
Now, a little more fun fact where you are, okay? The infrastructure alone to get water and sewer to that is off the chain. I mean, there is no water, there is no sewer. So the infrastructure and to provide that is a large portion of whatever your construction budget is going to be. I know that from experience.
But may I just want to speak to this idea that we're doing something other than what we were approved for? That would never fly with the town. We spent years going through exactly what we're doing with the town board and the planning board. We took lots of feedback. The project got smaller. And the project is what it is. You know, if we want to do anything other than what it is, we would have to go back to the planning board. Um, there is, for whatever reason, there are people in the community that think that we are constantly trying to hide the ball. We're trying to build trust. We're trying to have conversations about what we're doing. We are doing what we're legally approved to do. And if we did anything but that, we would be hearing about it immediately. There'd be more lawsuits filed. We don't want to, we can. It's not a thing.
Henry, how long have you been developing anything out in that corridor out there? How many years?
We've been working on this for 5 years,
Uh-huh.
and we don't have a shovel in the ground, but there's a lot of opinions about what we're going to do, based on, I think, broader political conversations. So
Where? I need to go by there. Where exactly
Right at
on
the end of
nine
Main
W?
Street.
No, it's on off of 209 on Main Street in Accord.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Right by the railroad tracks, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it used to be a stop.
Towpath?
Yeah, right
Um,
there.
Down by
well,
Towpath.
It's Towpath, Granite, and Main Street come together.
Right, I know exactly.
Yeah, so it's the old mills, and there used to be two more buildings. Two of them have fallen down, but we've stabilized, or the person who sold it to us stabilized, and will fully stabilize the property, and obviously revitalize it.
Bring us,
Happy to give it to her
bring a
anytime.
shovel.
Yeah.
Bring a
That'd be
snow
good.
shovel.
A snow shovel?
Yeah, just in case you want to walk deeper
Yeah.
into it.
No, that's all right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Henry, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
for the
you.
Thank you for
opportunity
coming
to
again.
respond. Comments.
Okay, once again, we'll roll into
Next one.
3555 Highland LLC, the Gateway Commons Project. That's on page 100 of your booklet.
So I have a copy of the application in there. Because this is a housing project, we went ahead and did a more significant cost benefit analysis through the MRB group. That starts on page 130 for you to review. And then additionally, following the MRB group, for those of you who were either in attendance at the public hearing, and I'm hoping all of you had an opportunity to review the live stream, Loran, who couldn't be here today, she did respond to the public and said that she would take a moment to address the board and answer questions brought by the community. So you'll find her response starting on page 147. I know I'm kind of skipping through this, just to give you a sense of what's in there. And then from there, any written comments. We have written comments, so some people that spoke at the public hearing then submitted their, comments that they made. And then following that, starting on 155, are all written comments that came in response to the project. So that's what you have in front of you.
I,
Go ahead.
I will say that the letter that came from Lauren O'Neill,
I think it's
Just like this-
Duran, I think she pronounces
okay.
it. But go ahead, yeah.
just really well put together letter, really did the items raised at the public hearing. It was just, that was an excellent response and really hit on all the key items that were raised in the public hearing and correctly differentiated kind of what the public thought and what was
Yeah.
actually happening.
Which
Which is
I
healthy.
also appreciated the letter in that it addressed, these are comments that, while we're unique to the project, are similar to ones we hear in other projects. And I thought her ability to kind of succinctly address it,
Yeah.
in a way that was well understood, I thought, I appreciated this from the project. And then we do have Brandon here, available to answer any questions the board may have as well.
Once again, before, where's Brandon?
He's right there.
Okay. Once again, before we start, at that public hearing, also, the majority of the people that were in attendance on that were actually getting up going, I don't even know what it says in there or what this is, but you know what? Basically, I'm sure it's not good, and that's not verbatim, but basically that's what it was. So once again, it becomes an understanding of what's actually taking place, and
What, This comment by Cynthia Dill is like
Yeah.
wrong.
she read this out loud.
I
so
mean,
this
this
is,
is,
Randall?
this is
Yeah,
153.
she's
She's
just-
like,
Yeah.
no, we don't, we
Oh, yeah.
are a signatory on all these things, but the project is owned by the
Yeah.
applicant,
I wrote wrong on the
Correct.
side, yeah.
right?
Sorry.
It's owned by the applicant, and then, we just,
And the last comment was, why wouldn't a bank finance this instead of, I think she's saying Ulster County, that's another wrong assumption that a lot of public has, that we're just, we're financing the project, we're just handing over money. You're getting financial assistance through exemptions on tax. That's the IDA's game. So a lot of this is just not understanding what an IDA does.
and again, Loran's letter to the board addresses some of those questions surrounding financing, but for the commercial performance, there were, as Mike said, some comments that reflected a confusion about what the IDA can do, but there were, some valid comments as
There
well.
was,
So
yeah, there was.
she did go into detail, ones that I think would be of particular interest to the board, especially around questions about but-for, commercial viability. And then they also, I believe it's let's see. I don't know.
who attended the hearing for,
A good mix of.
no, from the board?
Mike and Joe were here.
Joe
So,
Ferraro.
Joe Ferraro,
Yep.
excuse me.
so from,
And afterwards, people were bombarding us with questions
Yeah.
after the meeting was over.
so,
And they left a little warm and fuzzy. How's that? Because they were like, oh, we didn't know that. We didn't understand that, so. But, it
so,
was,
yeah, but my ultimate question was based on, in comparison to New Paltz.
No.
What was,
No,
what was,
No pitchforks.
was,
pitchforks.
okay.
No.
Literally
No
no
pitchforks.
pitchforks.
It was-
Absent pitchforks, what
it
I'm saying
was
is, was
a
there
tremendous
general
meeting.
support from the community
There
for
was-
this,
it
or
was
was it
mixed.
50-50? Was it?
It was mixed. I didn't gauge it too much, we were letting people speak, so I was kind of trying to keep track. Some people approached the podium and gave a long drawn out thing, and I was like, they opened with, they were against it, but by the time they got to the bottom
Yeah.
of what their thought was, they were for it, so
So
I
we
was kind of getting,
They were against it only until they were for it.
I was getting spun around a little bit, but you know what, we made sure we had everything
I
on paper.
think that the majority of the comments were not in favor. And I think the difference between this and New Paltz was we've
It's New Paltz.
well we've also tightened up our public hearing process. So we moved the podium, or we asked people to speak directly to the board and not address the members in the room, address the board. Mike does a great job of really making sure people keep comments to 3 minutes. And so we've got a much smoother system. And I would say, in response to Mike's comment about where they're against it until they're not, really reflects a lack of understanding of a pilot. People had a lot of concern about their own affordability, and will this jeopardize their ability to continue to afford to live in their community, which really just reflects a lack of understanding, which again is where I'm going to go back to Loran's letter. And I think she does an excellent job of addressing a lot of the concerns that the public had. But we did have, I think, a couple people in support, and saw the value in the project and the economic benefit that it will bring to the town of.
Once again, we
Highland.
were asked the question by some individuals getting up who didn't have a full understanding of what we were there for. And it was addressing, why can't we improve their infrastructure, their
Yeah.
water treatment plant? Why
Or
can't
it
we?
was a wastewater, or no, a water main breaks.
A
they were
water,
struggling
we've had
with.
22 water main breaks. What about funding that?
Yeah.
And we were like,
It's not economic development.
nothing for nothing, but welcome to winter. This is the municipality time to fix water breaks. Everybody has aging infrastructure. But we didn't engage once again. But afterwards, when they approached us, we said, well, so just so you know, we don't do that. And I go, well, I didn't know that. And one lady said to me, Now I'm a little embarrassed on what I said, don't be, don't be. You had a concern, you get up and you say it, and that's all there is to it. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So, but that was it was a good meeting.
It was.
Yeah,
When will
nothing
that
will
be?
top New Paltz. So,
Nothing ever.
nothing, ever. Most unprofessional
I
thing
could
I've
have
ever
told
been
you,
at my
I could
entire
have
life.
told you that
So, but,
before you showed
They
up.
thought you were gonna be there. That's what the pitch.
No, they knew I was gonna be there. They know where I am on it.
Well, you know what? Trevor told me about the pitchfork, so did Hillary, and I wasn't concerned because it was pretty rusty, so I knew the guy didn't know how to use it. So I was good, but, so, yeah, let's bring Brandon up, you know?
Morning, everyone.
When will this
Good
be
morning.
Morning.
When will
Just
we
for the
be able to
record,
approve this?
I contributed to
Next
that
month.
letter.
Next month.
Oh,
too.
oh,
So,
thank you,
Let's get it
Brandon.
done.
Sorry about, sorry
No.
to not include you in
Let's,
that.
let's credit, because we kept complimenting it.
So Brandon, go ahead. Tell us a little bit about, I know you guys, Lauren answered the questions, um, public hearing, you know what? I know you were dragged out of the room for most of the public hearing, so you didn't get to see anything that went on or hear anything.
Feel like if we've just been through it so many times, it's always kind of the same comments. A couple of the things for the infrastructure portion of it, we are improving. We're not putting any more burden on the old infrastructure by installing the pump station up to 9W sewer that was installed, I believe, 10 years ago when the 9W widening was
Mhm.
done. And we're also connecting the two water mains from 9W to Roberto Ave to improve water quality, improve the flow of water with it. But
So you are doing infrastructure
yeah,
They are.
to some degree.
and as for the grease trap commercial, I know we spoke about that. There was discussions. It was also in a public hearing. The town engineer actually acknowledged the fact we had a meeting with them discussing different options for the grease trap. And it was always an option for us. Obviously, we don't want to handcuff potential tenants for the retail. And we believe that the retail spot will be good to lease up because it's on 9W. There's
Is it-
thousands and thousands of cars that drive past it every day. So, yeah.
Where on 9W is,
The old Chevy dealership. Remember where Grand Union was and they put in the brand new, firehouse coming down 9W to the bridge, the arterial?
Now
Okay,
there's Shamrock Liquors, it's right.
it's
on
right on the
on
right,
the
right
roll
across from
belly.
Hess. I don't even know what gas station it is anymore.
yeah.
I drive by, I don't pay attention.
I think
Speedway.
it's still has.
Speedway.
It's
Oh,
Speedway.
Speedway.
It's
Never
Speedway,
mind.
okay. Speedway.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Across
yeah,
the
yeah,
street
yeah,
from
yeah.
Speedway.
Yeah.
Now, the building's already been taken down,
Correct.
so that one's,
But I
that's
drove
down.
past the other day, there's just a fence, no signs of any type of construction going on.
There's nothing. And the reason the building was taken down, because it was dilapidated,
Yes,
best coming
that's what
down,
he said,
safety,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Safety.
Because safety
So,
hazard.
Yeah, I know probably, that thing was gonna fall down on its own, so. But,
This will be on our agenda next month.
That's,
yes.
so this is an opportunity for the board to discuss any of the comments, request any additional information from the project applicants before voting. So
Yeah, I know most of the people in the letters, I mean, they all. I think it's a good project that we should move forward with.
Nice clean application.
Well done.
Right.
Thank you.
And
Brandon.
thank you.
Enjoy your days.
Yes.
You too.
You too.
Okay.
You may get your wish.
Let's hope.
Um,
I'm gonna vote for the one in New Paltz too, because I'm consistent.
No.
No, boy.
Remember, we are root black.
Okay, moving along. New business, public hearing resolution on 615 Broadway LLC, and that is on page 162 in your.
And the project applicant is also here. So, do we want to invite them up to give the board an
Sure.
overview of the project?
Yeah, let's, do
Yeah, you
that.
guys can come on up.
Let's see. Once again, this is only for the public hearing. We still get to go, we gotta go through a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. this
Not
is-
Right, this is a
not
new
approving the
project.
project.
Not
Right, it's
approving
we're-
approving
we're
public
just-
We're
hearing.
holding the required public hearing.
That's it.
you have, the application and the project is gonna. There,
I sent you a presentation. I don't know if it's something I can throw up for everyone to see or.
I would love to say that my tech skills are good enough to throw it up, but I can at least have it here and you just say go and
Okay.
I'll, so, I've got it like that.
Hillary's
so hopefully.
touch PowerPoint system.
Listen,
Okay.
let's let her do it.
So I'm Lauren Lopez Rudkowski from Baxter Development, part of the development team. We've been working on this since 2022 when the city of Kingston put out the RFP. And Dan Hubble.
Whiteman, Osman, and Hannah, counsel for the project.
So should we just jump into flipping through the
Yeah.
presentation and the project history? So I'm actually gonna jump ahead to the third slide, just to give kind of the history. Like I said, we started working on this in 2022 when the city of Kingston put out an RFP. We responded and were awarded the project shortly after, still in 22. From 22 to 23, we worked on refining the mapping and what the layout and the plan would be. In 23, the city adopted the form-based zoning code, so our project took a lot of twists and turns, looking at a 9-story building, going subgrade with parking, and we wound up ultimately landing at a 70-unit building with commercial space, a courtyard open to the public, and then in that redesign, the city and the code wanted our egress not on Main Street. We then started conversations with the Salvation Army to several iterations, but a conversation about purchasing their building and then incorporating their program into our building. Again, took some twists and turns. We ultimately landed with a purchase agreement for a portion of their parcel, which would provide us access and allow us to build the front on Broadway, flush basically up against the street to keep that street wall. And so fast forward into 25, we had the design of the building. We obtained approvals in a lot of back and forth community outreach and whatnot. We obtained approvals in 2025. We also were accepted into the brownfield cleanup program to clean up some contamination on the site. And yes, summarizing it, here we are now with our application submitted and our hopes to get in the ground and start going vertical now 4+ years after we've started this process. So then going back a slide, if you want, I mentioned that we're 70 apartments. We have approved and plan to do 20% of those units at an average of 80% of AMI and the remainder up to 120% of AMI. So fully workforce housing with an affordable component. We have a substantial investment planned into cleaning up the site for the brownfield cleanup program. Like I mentioned, we have the courtyard open to the public. So we worked with the community and city, the arts community quite a bit to retain this listening plaza that exists right now. We worked with the Parks Department to ensure that it is open to the public, but the maintenance of it remains under our private control, so it's not a burden to the city. We paid rec fees, because most projects would, for our unit count. And we provided parking for the for the residents and the commercial, despite the zoning code not requiring any, which I think was a benefit to city and our project.
So the city currently owns this building,
The city owns this site. Yes,
So-
there's no more building on it, but
so there's no more building on it.
it was the former.
The King's Inn, remember that?
Amy's
King's
Inn.
Inn?
Okay, okay.
Oh, this is-
So
It's an
so,
Yeah.
okay, so just, this may be a weirdo question. If the city owned it, there's no building on it, it is tax exempt right now because it is owned by the city, correct?
Presumably.
Well,
I
if
don't
it's
know-
owned
I
by
don't
the
know for
city of
sure,
Kingston,
but
it would
presumably.
not be paying taxes. So my question to, did they give this to you or you're buying it?
No, we're buying,
You're-
we're buying it for the taxes and
back
costs, back
taxes,
taxes and costs of enforcement.
Okay, where I was going with this was if it was owned by the city, why wouldn't they just lease it to you for $1 and then you come to us for sales tax exemption and boom, be done with, I mean,
That
Like-
wasn't what was presented by the city.
right, I understand, but
City might not
like I
want that
said, I'm
picture.
just asking why.
The city said, who wants to buy this for the back taxes, and please bring. the-
Same thing with field court.
Yeah,
They're-
your best
they're all about that.
proposal, we went through a tremendous back and forth with the city even before anything went. It was a tremendous amount of input from the city and the community on this project.
So did they foreclose on
Yeah,
it
they
or something?
foreclosed on it.
Okay,
There was
all right,
back-
okay,
there was back taxes.
okay.
But it wasn't a standard sort of tax auction. It sounded like they did an RFP specifically for
Correct.
some form of.
Oh, yeah,
development. Right,
yes,
right,
correct,
right.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, then my question's not that, because I thought they owned it, like, they had the housing authority on it, was
Yeah, it
condemned,
was-
and they
it
tore it
wasn't a-
down,
it
it's
wasn't
like,
a-
we want to get
You
rid of
sound
the
like a
land.
lawyer.
Yeah,
It's a good question. It's a good
It wasn't
question.
a.
Yeah.
It wasn't a high.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
Auction. I mean, it wasn't even an auction, right? It was.
No,
It was.
no.
Right.
It's
It's not-
That's
What do you,
idea.
what do
Right.
you want to do with
I don't
it?
even think we knew what the back tax.
Yeah, we didn't even know what the
were
amount
when
was.
Right.
We
Right,
submitted our.
right.
do you know now?
Yeah,
We
we
do
know.
know.
Is it a
now.
fortune?
Yeah. No, it's mid 200s, I think.
So I guess my question is going to be on the AMI for the affordability units and the workforce units.
Mhm.
First of all, I applaud you on the 20% for affordable units, okay? So I know the city mandate, they pretty much mandate 10%. So you guys went above and beyond that. What is the AMI for the affordable units?
She just said
I-
80%.
Did they say?
80%.
80%.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the workforce is
Oh,
capped
I
at
didn't, I'm
120.
sorry, I must
Is
have,
120.
I was looking through the maps too at the same time,
Oh,
I
okay.
apologize.
80%.
Only because my
80%
next question
and
was-
120 for the rest.
workforce Was the access, just the access which you clarified on that off of
Which-
Cedar Street?
Yep, which is on slide 4. I don't know if you want to go ahead to that. It's kind of like and you have the maps there.
Yeah,
There's a narrow road that was existing with the site that goes out onto Cedar, but it
Martin
would
Lane?
only allow for, it would only
car.
allow for, one-way traffic. And
Yeah.
so we originally had our egress on Broadway, and like I said, they wanted it, the street front built. And so we had to have a conversation with the Salvation Army, which was a long process,
Mhm.
multiple AG approvals and whatnot to get there, and that, more, but we have that agreement for purchase as well now. And so it makes it access to the site much more palatable. It makes the project really feasible.
so there's going to be no egress off of Broadway, or do you have emergency egress off
It's
Broadway?
emergency.
Yeah.
It's a curve basically that a fire truck
Yeah.
can,
Okay.
Lots of W and whatnot were affected, but that, worked out with our civil engineer and our architect to plan that. So I mean, maybe we just look through the rest of the presentation, just since we have it. The site plan is here, which I think you all have in front of you. We have the architectural drawings of the first floor plan, which shows commercial, all on Broadway and surrounding that interior courtyard and open to the public. And then apartments above. So on Broadway, there's a 3-story building, commercial on the first floor, 2 floors of residential above. And then the back is kind of this zigzag building that houses the remainder of the units. Elevator building, amenitized, parking with EV chargers. And then I guess we can jump into the creation benefits and whatnot. So our application puts forth 60 full-time equivalent commercial construction jobs. We're anticipating an 18-month build for this project. And that's after the brownfield cleanup would commence. And then we are focused on, as Baxter Construction and Baxter Development typically does, focus on hiring local and regional contractors, subs, vendors, consultants, et cetera. We are anticipating at least 6 permanent jobs once the building is put into operations, which would include both the property management, maintenance and team for the building, as well as our commercial tenants. And then on the financing front, or the total project cost is anticipated to be about 30 million, just over that. We are expecting about 19.5 to 20 million from private financing. We usually work with local and regional banks. And so we have some lenders lined up looking at this already. That leaves approximately 10 million to be raised from equity, a good portion of which we've already put in. We're working on the project for 4 years, so our consulting team and whatnot, we've already invested equity there. And we are looking at the Ulster County Housing Action Fund, which I believe there's 2 paths we could pursue. With our 80% affordable units, we anticipate 400,000 there.
So what will your ask be from us?
Yes, that's the next slide. So that's a good segue. Our application is for the mortgage recording tax, sales tax, and a 15-year pilot. So with the application, obviously the point system, we referenced that, and so we are, I guess, as of right, we qualify for the category 4 pilot, which is 15 years. The exemption schedule starts at 95% and then, goes down to year 15 with the full taxes paid in year 16. The sales tax equates to approximately 1.8 million based on our construction value, which we've been working hand in hand with our construction and design team to further refine those numbers over the years. So that's changed what they've been over the years. Mortgage recording tax based on our anticipated private financing would be just shy of 200,000. And the real property taxes, the value of that exemption is approximately 3.5 million. What this contributes, I guess, right now the taxes are not being paid and the city has the back taxes, which is what we're purchasing it for, is just over $3 million for the duration of the pilot. And we have in here in our application, in our presentation, the taxes without development at 105,000. I don't know how it's fair to put it, but there are taxes.
Yeah, there's no taxes currently because it's owned by the city. So puts it back on the roll. I think the one thing I want to comment on is in terms of our employment numbers, we felt comfortable with 6. I think our hope is that we'll have more employees, but those employees would the vast majority of them are gonna come from the commercial tenancies. There's some risk with, on-street commercial tenancies with turnover, so we felt comfortable being able to commit to 6. But obviously our hope is that, the businesses come in, each of them are gonna have a handful of employees, and that we would have more than that, but again, we're just not comfortable going beyond, making commit beyond 6.
Yeah, don't do it.
We talked
So-
about, it's that I've always tell applicants, you could end up with a restaurant who's got 40 employees, or you could end up with a chiropractor who's himself. So,
So what
it's
we,
hard to.
so what we've got, is this right? 30, total value of the pilot, 3192,823.
Should be,
Because there on 183, it says 3529,276. Estimated value of pilot, and then
I
oh,
see.
total there. So there's a discrepancy there. But since we're talking about employees at that rate, 6 employees, we're looking at almost $500,000 an employee for the value of this pilot, which is really expensive for the number of employees and jobs that we will end up getting out of this for this. And then those employees from commercial aren't necessarily your employees. They are employees of someone else who will be paying the benefits and the vacation and their salaries. So those aren't your employees, right? If I'm renting a space from you, I'm Walgreens, and I rent a space from you in that facility, the employees that I bring in there are my burden. I pay their health insurance, I pay their vacation, I pay their salaries, and that is not coming from the people who are developing this building. The only people you're doing is 6.
That's not entirely true. I mean, how many employees are we going to have, are the building to have directly?
The building directly, we anticipate about 3 full-time employees.
On the
Property
Okay.
manager, maintenance.
Okay, so if you divide that number 3 by 3,192,000, that's
Million apiece.
that's
But
it's a million
right, and my
apiece for a
my
job.
response to that is that there's multiple components here. You're also not looking at the 60 FTE construction jobs that we are creating.
But those are part-time temporary, those are temporary jobs.
Understood, but we're looking at the total economic impacts here, and so you've got you got full-time jobs that we're creating. You've got,
3, right?
And this,
no.
just
not
to
three.
clarify that they are seeking a category 4, which aligns with the matrix. So the points that they're looking to capture are points that the governance committee and the board came together and agreed upon. So I
There's
know-
also the concept of the tenants at the building, right? We're talking about
Yes.
tenants. They would also spend in the local economy as well.
Yeah,
That's
so
that's.
that we're looking at the same thing with other housing projects. We look at that broader economic impact
Right.
that housing brings to the area.
Right.
And for this project, one of the things is that workforce component of the capping the rents at 120. So that would allow like your teachers, your nurses, your fire department, personnel. to kind
And
of stay
is
in the
this
area.
all of that? Is there any market rate housing involved? It's not. So it's 20%
Rent-
affordable,
yeah,
80%.
Capped
Rents
at-
are capped at what's affordable for an 80% household for that unit.
Yep.
And then rents are capped at what's affordable for 120%.
So some of the economic impact here, the board had considered looking at beyond just the job creation when it comes to the housing projects that the board evaluates.
So the 80% would be teachers, fire department.
Workforce house.
You got
I
your,
mean,
No, no,
it's-
that would be 80% of, say that again, so
the-
those are the most affordable.
20% is
20%
affordable
is
housing,
affordable.
80% is workforce housing.
Is-
So workforce housing, to what you're saying, is, yeah.
your
workforce housing.
teachers, like,
Sure.
the income level that maybe teachers might be earning, nurses, different administrators, and then below the 80% or below would be the affordable units, and they have 20%.
Can you,
Does that make sense?
You always look at me. Go ahead.
because you're the
Everything.
lawyer.
Go ahead.
No, my you know, I mean, it was something that we talked about in New Paltz with respect to doing something similar to this.
Mhm.
And we were warned that it might violate fair housing standards if you know, limited it to, you know,
But I think that's,
well, I guess if it's not, I guess
it's
if
not,
it's,
that's, I think what you're talking about is affordable housing, which gets into Section 8 vouchers and things like that, which is a different.
no, well, no, the conversation was basically similarly doing stuff like that for, you know, volunteer firefighters, teachers in our
Dedicated.
community, dedicated.
But workforce housing is just that.
Right,
Workforce
so
housing.
it's not,
It's an
you're
umbrella.
you're not saying teachers,
No, no,
but
no,
okay,
we're just
No,
yeah,
no,
defining.
right.
specifically
Okay.
not.
I was
just
just
based on
giving
income levels.
examples
Okay,
of.
I just want, I
Remember
just
when
wanted to
they-
make sure,
Yes.
that's why I was, because we were
Remember the
warned
Lace
that
Mill
that could,
was, the
specific
Lace Mill was
people. Right.
artists at the time, and
yeah,
then they had to open the door, right?
right,
Right.
So, you know, no, they're not specifically saying,
those are examples,
This is
got
it.
it, got it.
if you don't, you can't apply.
No,
Correct.
it's an income cap. And I was just giving examples of who, just for the benefit of the board, of who may be falling within that 120 of AMI.
Right, just examples.
Yeah, it's, I'm sure they're,
Yeah, the other thing I want to comment on is we've done a similar project to this before, where we call it quote voluntary, what we call voluntary affordable. So there's like capital A affordable in our world, which is projects that are financed in part by the state homes and community renewal. They allocate tax credits to that. That is not this project. We're getting no funding from the state. We're getting no funding from the HCR. We're getting no tax credit. So, from our view, the city of Kingston has a housing crisis, as we all know about. It's well publicized, well talked about. And so Baxter, to their credit, have figured out how to bring a lowercase affordable projects into the market without having to draw from state incentives or state funding. It's financeable, but the only way it's financeable is but for the IDA's help. If we don't have the IDA's help, this project simply will not be built. We will not be able to meet our debt covenants under our lenders, to be particularly because of the taxes, because of the property tax. You know, Kingston, you know, I think a lot of the municipalities in the Hudson Valley tend to be what quote high tax, right? The tax rates are high. Based on the current tax rates, the project's not financeable. And so absent IDA involvement, what you're left with is a vacant property owned by the city that's brownfield.
I have a question. If there is no state involvement, and no agency incentive for the affordable housing, how are you then accountable for keeping it as
There's a
affordable
regulatory,
housing
yeah, there's a regulatory agreement between the city of Kingston and us.
as part of this
As
purchase?
part of this, yeah, there's a fully negotiated regulatory agreement.
And how long does it have to stay affordable? Forever.
So how do
And
you
we
do-
would make sure that in any of our
Absolutely.
documents that you can't turn it co-op, you can't do
Absolutely.
condo
Can't
for
become
the,
market rate.
right.
0% of it.
How do you document that tenants every year? Is there an annual certification about the AMI? Just curious.
Chris, I can send you the form of the regulatory agreement, which kind of explains that. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't, because I've done this a few times for
Yeah.
and it kind of morphs by what the municipality requires. But the regulatory agreement is fully baked. Matt Jankowski at the city signed off on it.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. You can take a
Perfect.
look at it,
Appreciate it.
you know, and see how we do that. There is, I know, absolutely an initial certification process
Yeah.
that's done.
It's more for my own edification,
Yeah.
because I have other IDA clients that are trying to do the same thing here.
I'll happily send it to you.
Yeah, thanks.
I was also gonna add to that, kind of going back to your question about the number of employees for the building itself. And to your point about annual compliance, we do have within Baxter a property management team that typically handles the ongoing property management. And while we plan to have a property manager, a leasing person, and a maintenance person, right, the three individuals I mentioned, they also don't do everything. Like, we have a back office that handles the accounting and scheduling of the HVAC maintenance for the on-site person to handle. And similarly, we have folks who are experienced with this sort of affordable compliance, and we'll read through the regulatory agreement and figure out what kind of paperwork needs to be handled annually, or, you know, whatever the cadence is. So we, in addition to the 3 folks who would be dedicated to the building, we do have a back office that handles a lot of the coordination.
And in
for-
addition to that, we're making the commitment for 8 local vendors that,
Right.
you know, so we have local vendor commitments, you know, all of these types of
Right.
things here. So I mean, this will be a project that, you know, while I don't see it being like an employment generator like an IBM or like a manufacturer, that's not the point of this project. For the project is to bring housing, and as a side benefit, we have commercial spaces, and those commercial spaces will hopefully will create employment.
So on the outsourcing of your maintenance in the future, if you did partner with local vendors, so actually,
Yeah, and you'll see that in the matrix that
Yeah.
we are making a
Yep.
commitment for
Yep.
the local
And
vendors.
we
seen
do
it.
monitor, just so all the board knows, the ABO requires us to monitor, you know, like in-house, it doesn't go in Carrot. Anything that they have kind of promised to in the application that
Mhm.
may be unique to our IDA, such as the 8 vendor policy, we do monitor that. It is a question on their annual certification, you know, what else did you promise in your application, and then to show proof that those things have happened. So in terms of making sure all of the other, you know, promises that are here, whether it's those affordable units or the 8 vendors, again, that's an agreement with our IDA, and we will monitor for that as well.
Randall,
Was,
I see you looking.
yeah, no, you know, I don't have an issue with housing. I mean, I do, but I don't. And my, but the issue, you know, the issue that I
There's always a
have
but there.
is that in the mix, there is very limited affordable based on the AMI, which means you have people who really, really need housing competing against each other for a very small packet of housing and all of these things that we're doing. And that is, to me, the stone in my shoe, because ultimately those are the people, you're black and you're brown and you're not overly educated people who need housing in these communities, who are not going to get them because there aren't enough of them, enough housing to accommodate the need for those people in our community.
But
That
to
is
your
my,
point, if we built 10,000 units tomorrow morning, we still don't solve the problem. You do know that,
There's
right?
enough.
yeah, I
We
understand
build more.
You've
that.
got to, all right, my opinion is you've got to flood the market with places. And then you get movement. Movement is the key. And as people move, places free up. So I'm saying that if you're here and then you go, okay, the opportunity presented itself for me to move here, you're freeing up stuff from the past. Okay. You're making availability. And if you don't, you know, and once again, I got to dive all into this yet anyway, but I'm just saying, if you don't build projects like this to move it along, I mean, I sit with a lot of developers, and the developers say the same thing to me every time. We would love to do 50% affordable and 50% workforce housing or market rate, you know, try to offset, you know, but, you know, Randall, the world revolves on ROI, right?
I get it.
So, you know what? I'll say it. The juice has to be worth the squeeze on a lot of these
And
matters,
I'm not against
you know?
making money.
And I think that you need to bring housing here, and then, you know, you've got to build it to get movement. I believe in movement. I
So-
believe things will move.
Just a few questions I think may help for the board, and I don't know the answer. So for the Two questions. So for the ones that are at the 80% AMI, are those being built and constructed the same as the ones at 120? And then second question to piggyback off that. So to Randall's point, if a person, let's say, is coming in at 80%, they have an opportunity for some upward mobility. Can that unit then, can they stay in that unit as long as they're under the 120
Yeah,
threshold?
actually, that's a great question, because we went
Yeah.
through this with the city. So there is no floor, like, there is no like, this unit is 80%. That's not how it is. Like the unit that, what in the regulatory agreement, and you'll see this, it's fluid. So a unit that's 80%, if it's vacated and there's, you like, the mix is gonna shift, will shift a little bit, through transition. So a unit that might have someone that's 80% in it and they move out, the next tenant might be coming in at 120% because that's a 1-bedroom unit, but there's a 2-bedroom unit that someone that was 120%, but someone needed to move into that was 80%. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
It's not like one floor of 80%,
exactly
one
not.
floor of.
And
Yeah.
there's no difference in construction. Like, you're not gonna see a difference there. You'll see in the regulatory agreement, we built in a mechanism. Again, apologies, I don't remember the exact, that's pretty in the weeds question, but remember the exact way we did it. But essentially, what we've done is built flexibility in, so that if you have somebody like that who exceeds the 80% threshold, that there's flexibility in that, where we're not saying, oh, you're 80%, you need to move.
Yeah.
We worked through that. And then the City of Kingston Housing Office has like that review discretion, where we go to that office and we say, this is the situation that we're dealing with, how do we handle that? We have this in the low income housing tax credit world. There's this thing called the next available unit rule, where if someone's income increases beyond the income for that unit, the next available unit is rented to somebody who meets the income thresholds. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so we kind of hybridize that a little bit, because for this, and again, I'll send Chris the regulatory agreement, and hopefully that'll give more weeds, but make more sense as to.
Yeah, I think it's just understanding that that this is meant to kind of, to your point, serve people who may be starting out at a lower income, but then don't feel trapped in that job and are able to take advantage of a raise or an upward promotion because they have,
Housing.
they
Right.
like where they live and they don't want to move, or
Right.
that market, that move sometimes from affordable to market rate is a really significant jump. And so sometimes people stay in very affordable housing because the move to market rate is unaffordable. So this will kind of give people an opportunity to grow without losing their
That's fair.
housing.
No, that's fair. I mean, because again, when you have people who are on SNAP benefits and this,
Yeah.
I mean, they go through this nonsense where it's like, you can't have a car.
All right.
Okay, it was,
Yeah.
well, then how do I get to work?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
No, you're
the
right.
stupidity of
People
it.
are
So,
capped by their,
so they're-
need for benefits.
so even at the end of this pilot, the arrangements for those units will remain in place and in force.
As long as the City of Kingston continues to have their affordability, like it's tied to the Kingston's affordability, so it's tied to that law. So again, you'll see it, from our view of it, this is in perpetuity. You'll see, again, we'll send you the regulatory agreement, you can take a look at it. Absolutely, because so in other projects we've done, we have tied the regulatory agreement to the length of the regulatory agreement to the length of the pilot. And so we did this in the city of Hudson. To the extent that you want to make that a requirement, the pilot, that we have the regulatory agreement has to remain in place, for the term of the lease back. That,
I mean, we could,
from our
Yeah.
view,
Well-
our view, we see this going beyond.
Mhm. But if
lease
Kingston
back.
changes the law.
Well,
Right.
Kingston, the other part of the question is, as you said, we're all interested in return on investment. We're at an advantage here during the pilot years, right? And then real world
Right.
hits, and you could have over 15 years, you could have 3 property tax assessments that mushroom your stuff out of control, and you get to a point where it's like, ah, we're out of here, and it becomes market rate, and it ain't affordable because we can't continue to do this. So, and I'm not expecting you to answer, but I mean, I'm just thinking these things.
So there is RPTL 581A, which provides for an assessment based upon, if there's a rate, RPTL 581A is a law that requires municipalities to assess properties that have a regulatory agreement for affordable housing, at the actual income and expenses of that property. So using the income approach, that's a fallback. 581A valuation with Kingston's tax rate still makes this non-financeable. But I think at the end of 15 years, we've had extensive conversations with the assessor. The value, the pilot analysis was done in conjunction with the assessor. So, at the end of 15 years, we might need to work through the, RPTL 581A, but that is, and I'll still be around, so that'll still.
Well, no, and I understand, but I understand from your perspective, but at the end of 15 years, while you work through that, there is some uncertainty perhaps for people who live there. Do you know what I mean? So that's
Of
the
course,
thing that
unless
I'm
right,
thinking
unless that
about.
the regulatory agreement is still in place, which we fully anticipate.
Right,
Oh, let's,
right.
I wanna get
Okay,
through CRC.
Okay.
so this is for public hearing, right?
This is just to authorize holding a
Yeah.
public
I
meeting.
move that we
Okay.
send
Let's,
this to public
let's,
hearing.
yeah, thank you. Randall has a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Hillary will get it on the board.
Yep, I'll be in touch and we'll schedule that.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Who
you.
had the second? Sorry.
Trevor.
Trevor, thank you.
Okay, let's move right into the, if I can find it.
It's on the,
CRC.
it's
The new
stapled.
staple.
You're-
Yes.
Where is it?
It's at the
The
back.
second, it's stapled together.
Yeah,
I
it's
got it.
stapled. Try to
I'm getting to it.
make it a little easier, maybe.
I have a photo attached to it. Okay, so it's February 18th, 2026. It's 10:43 a.m. And this is the meeting for the Ulster County Capital Resource Corporation. Call to order. Michael Ham, present. Rachel Silverman,
Present.
Randall Leverett,
Yep.
Stephen Kelly, present. Joseph Ferraro is absent with notice. Trevor Kerwin, present. And Costi Walla is absent with notice. The mission statement of the Ulster County Capital Resource Corporation is to promote community and economic development in Ulster County in ways that complement the work of Ulster County, primarily through issuing and selling bonds for nonprofit institutions. In front of you, you will see the minutes to January 21st on page 3. I ask that you review.
Here, so I.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Also in front of you, on page 8, will be the annual meeting minutes of January 21st.
I make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Just,
Thank
yeah,
you.
and just the
The same
correction.
thing.
And the
Yeah,
correction.
same, yeah.
Thank you.
Hillary, one note too, by correction,
Yeah.
I think for the UCIDA, in the old business,
Yeah.
we had a dollar figure in there for the Kingstonian, missing a 0. I just want to
Oh.
make sure somebody doesn't say
Thank
something
you.
about where the comma should
Okay,
be.
all right.
Yeah, let's correct that.
Thank you, guys.
It should be a period.
Let's correct that.
I just say,
Yeah.
Yeah, an enterprising lawyer somewhere. But, it's fair.
Good catch.
Okay, thank you.
Right out.
Public comment on agenda items only. No comment. Let the chair's report reflect the chair's report from the Ulster County Industrial Agency meeting. Executive Director's report.
Also let the executive director's report reflect that of the executive director's report of the Ulster County IDA meeting.
Audit, Steve?
There's no report.
No report. Thank you. Finance, Rachel?
Let the finance report reflect the finance report for the IDA.
Thank you. And governance, Costume is absent with notice. We'll hear from him next week or next month. Old business, projects, updates, pending project updates. Council?
So on this one, and Kelly, correct me if I'm wrong,
There's nothing in there.
there's nothing in here. So I think we're gonna have a brief discussion.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a brief discussion about the senior life housing
Mm-hmm.
presentation, if that's okay with the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I was looking for is to just take a moment to review the role of the CRC in issuing bonds.
Right.
As a, because we were just putting together the hearing, so we thought this would be a good opportunity to just go over bonds for the CRC with the board.
So you'll recall we did a project for Woodland Pond last year. That kind of was a good transaction. This is a similar project. It's different as the presenters kind of described it in a lot of detail, some of which was a little, I thought, confusing, but neither here nor there. The project itself does qualify for tax exempt and taxable bond financing. CRC really is set up to issue bonds.
Which project are we
I'm
talking
sorry, it's
about?
the senior life. I think
Were you here
Oh,
last
You
week?
were, you were absent.
Sorry.
If you go past, okay, the overpass to go onto the Mid-Hudson Bridge,
Go
Yeah.
under
on the
it.
right-hand side, you'll see that giant wall that's built up on top. They already had an ASF, okay, assistant, or
assisted living facility,
yeah,
ALF.
ALF, I'm sorry, an ALF up there, okay? So this project was a project that came and presented to us. They're gonna build it, I don't know if it's like a giant cul-de-sac or whatever, but there's pads for all these modulars to go in. And then that would be
So I think
senior.
that's where we want to get in, because I think
Yeah.
that there's been some confusion, and I don't
You'll-
believe the ALF has been built.
Well,
It hasn't.
the ALF is not built. They didn't need
Yeah.
our help. A long time
They're-
ago. But
they-
let's get you all up to speed
I will-
on the paperwork on
It's
that.
on the
okay?
website, but I'll send it to you. again.
Yes,
I'll look at it, yeah.
yes.
So the community itself that would be built, and what was the interesting wrinkle here is this concept of they're going to have like modular prefabricated homes brought on and installed
On their
on
pad.
property, a pad. The property itself, the ground wouldn't be owned by the people that are living there, the tenants. So it's kind of a funky concept, but I just wanted
Trailer
to
park.
step back and think, so
With houses.
tax
Yep.
exempt bonds,
Exactly.
for tax exempt bonds to be issued, you can only use tax exempt bond proceeds for certain things. Okay, it's because the federal government says you're not paying interest on that. That's a subsidy. They lose billions of dollars a year in revenue every year, the federal government. So they really want to make sure that, hey, we don't just hand out this tax exemption. So you have to jump through a ton of hoops. Does it qualify for this? Is it a charity? Is it a 501c3? So in this case, you can only use tax exempt bonds if the property that is going to have tax exempt bond proceeds spent on it is owned by a 501c3 corporation. Okay, so in this case, they have a 501c3. They would use tax exempt bonds to do the community center, the pool, whatever.
The assisted living and the memory care
Right.
center.
This other modular confusing animal that they talked about, that would be financed with taxable bond proceeds, which the CRC can issue tax exempt or taxable bonds. Taxable bonds just means the interest on those bonds is taxable from a federal perspective and a New York State
So
perspective.
there's really no benefit.
But when you have,
But they didn't come to us for that.
they did.
They did.
That's
they
part of
did?
it.
It's just
That's
a
part of it.
small portion, and that would
Mhm.
just be, I think, like the building out of the pad
Right.
itself, but then the house that goes on it, you have to purchase that separate.
But because that property is not going to be owned by a 501c3, you can't use tax exempt bond proceeds. But I'm commonly bond counsel on transactions where you have a taxable bond piece and a tax exempt bond piece. Taxable bonds, because there aren't all these hoops to jump through, because you're not screwing the federal government out of money, you can do whatever you want with those. So this ownership requirement here isn't a problem if you use taxable bond proceeds. That's the 30,000 foot. So the project itself, we send a project applicant a tax questionnaire. They have to explain in exhaustive detail what they're going to use the tax and bond proceeds for. If any of that money was going to be used for property that wasn't owned by a 501c3, it's out. You can't use tax and bond proceeds.
But
It
they're
just
gonna
have-
own the property still.
but the 501c is not gonna own, that's what was kind of confusing, I
They
thought.
don't own the house.
They're not
They
gonna,
don't own the house.
they're not gonna own the
but they-
ground. That's what they were, I think they
They're
were
gonna own the
saying,
ground.
No, they're
I
gonna
thought the
own the
501c
ground.
They are gonna own the
This
ground.
is where it got wonky,
yeah.
because this is what I
No,
understood.
go ahead.
That the 501c3 was also was owning all the land
Owns the
and
property.
putting these pads down, and then someone is gonna pay to build their own or bring on their own house on it.
Right.
But they never relinquished their ownership of the land,
They could-
which
they
could
I
like a
took to
ground lease.
mean they
a ground
wanted
lease.
to use the tax exempt bond money for all of that property because they technically continue to own the
They
property.
couldn't do that because if they just own the land, that's not, they'd have to own the facility built on the land too.
Okay,
Okay, so they could use taxable bonds for the modular construction. It doesn't matter. They have to own everything, not
they're
just
not
the land.
building the houses.
They're not building the houses. The people are building the houses.
So don't we do that
I'm
for?
getting this, yeah, so.
Okay, so
Okay,
here's the
All I'm
question.
trying to say is,
Come on, Chris.
all I'm trying to say
Screwy.
is, this piece with this modular,
Yep,
I'm not worried about it using tax exempt bond proceeds because we would have to kick the tires that to make sure they didn't do that. There's no way.
okay.
I mean, if they did and we found out, it's a whole process and they could lose the exemption on the tax exempt bonds, which nobody wants, they'd be screwed.
Yeah.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, we would kick the tires on this, make sure that the
Yeah.
proceeds were used correctly. We would have to sign a tax regulatory agreement, which is 100 pages long, saying here's what we're gonna use our tax and bond proceeds for. So the CRC can issue tax bonds and taxable bonds for this project. It
So the only
definitely
thing
qualifies.
the only thing they're building is the landing pad for somebody else's house.
No.
And,
No,
and
they're-
a whole community. They're building
On
a whole
this
Entire
So-
community.
community.
Just, I
Right,
think,
that's what I mean.
All the
Like
infrastructure.
no, they're
the,
building an assisted living facility
Sewer,
and a
water,
memory care
everything.
center.
Yeah.
A community center, there's like an aquatic center.
Yeah.
So, and then there is this pad thing. And I think this is where I really felt like we are losing maybe the narrative of things that the board should be focusing on because the majority of the bond proceeds would be used on the construction of this other thing. The
Tax exempt bond proceeds would
tax
be used to
exempt
do
bond
the other
proceeds.
units, the memory care, the pool.
memory
et cetera, et
care,
cetera.
the
It's just this
assisted living
little component
facility.
here, we would have to make sure that they didn't use tax exempt bond proceeds.
And
for.
I think the other thing I was hoping you could touch on, Chris,
Okay.
is
So my confusion, just so you know, at that time, when we were discussing this was, okay, who monitors the fact that they're not using this money over here?
we do.
At what expense?
No.
I
They
don't
have to sign a tax regulatory agreement.
Yeah.
It's part of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's compliance of the yin yang on this. I like the questions, but I don't know if it's the best idea to go this deep.
yeah. So I think we
Okay.
need to like.
That's okay.
How many
No,
jobs are
okay.
they planning to
So this
create?
is-
Certainly,
well,
we would
this
not do
is
it
the
unless it
thing,
was
like,
an authorized use of tax
100
and bond
plus.
proceeds.
Yeah.
Okay,
If-
let's, just for the sake of
Okay.
going on and beating a dead horse here, okay? Let's get Randall up to speed, so
Yep.
we're not bombarding everybody with redundant things, okay? Let's get the information over to him. Let's hold
Absolutely.
this back, whatever information you have. Let's share it with Hillary so she can disperse it amongst the board.
Sure.
And we can get into the weeds. Anybody having any questions? Okay? Hit
But I
Hillary up.
Well-
just so we clear, this is very similar to the Woodland Pond project.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Very similar.
You're right. I
And
think the
This-
confusing thing was the
Yes.
The
presentation,
presentation.
because
was-
that had
Yes.
me all over the map
A lot of
also.
mentions
And
of
I-
chattel.
I think one of the,
And there, we,
There was.
right, err on the side of caution when you write something to Hillary, don't use chattel.
that,
Okay.
In his defense, he was a former lawyer.
Yeah.
well,
just saying,
one of the things I'm hoping, Chris, we could spend 4 seconds on is just when we take our IDA hat off and we
Hold on
put
a
our
minute.
CRC
Let's start
hat
the timer.
on.
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at this through a different lens. The but for, the job creation,
Sure.
the pilot matrix, all of those things don't exist. So
Throw
what
throw them out the window when you have.
Out the
CRC.
window.
It's
But
all
what-
construction
There's no
financing
jobs,
related.
you don't have to think
So
about
what
jobs.
should, if I were a board member and I had to evaluate this project, what am I looking for then? Like, what is the thing that should
I
be?
think you're looking for advice from your bond counsel that
It's exactly what we're
it's a
looking for.
legitimate project. It can be, tax exempt bonds can be issued by the CRC and taxable bonds to finance the project. This is a common project. Again, we would look at it from a tax perspective. That's why we have tax attorneys that do just municipal finance and public finance bonds that would look at this. So,
oh.
Go ahead.
But it's assumed that when you do construction bonding for a continuing care facility, that comes with, that's the trade-off.
What's the trade-off?
When you do a place like a Woodland Pond, you're gonna get the jobs because you can't just build
Well, of
housing
course.
for seniors. It's gotta be continuing care, full service, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
which is how we sort of get involved with it because there are doctors, there
Oh,
are
yeah.
nurses, there are rehab people,
Right.
there are memory care people, there's cafeteria, so it's
There
creating
is-
I
100
get it,
jobs.
but what I'm saying is when you do an IDA application, you say we're gonna have X number of jobs, and if you don't create X number of jobs.
Oh,
we
yeah,
can
Well,
no,
capture
that's,
it.
yeah,
We don't,
no.
that's not part of the
That's-
CRC process.
No.
The
There is no
CRC
part,
process is, can we issue these bonds? Yes. When are we closing? It's kind of that.
Cut and
You
dry.
leave it up to the
Right.
law, you leave it up to the
Yeah.
bond council
Let's,
to make sure it's legitimate.
Let's
Which
get the
makes me wonder
information
why I need
over
to
to
go visit
Randall.
Woodland Pond.
Let's get Randall into the loop. Let's get him totally up to speed. Let's table this out until next month, okay? Oh, well,
Well, of course.
what's
They
the,
Oh,
want-
there's the
May
other
5th.
one. What's
May
the,
5th.
what
No,
is it?
can't, Flubber.
So just to go, just one more step
Oh,
here.
March 5th. Why did I say May? March 5th is the hearing.
So then if the board was comfortable moving forward with this at the March meeting,
I
Yes.
get this. This is not complicated for
No,
me. I
it's-
mean,
it's cut and dry.
it's Woodland Pond. I mean, the Woodland,
You have the
the,
benefit
Just
of
let me- just let me-
weeding that through
Go
the
ahead,
review.
go ahead,
Well-
council.
at the March meeting, we would adopt, the CRC would look at two resolutions. One, a seeker resolution to make sure it's environmentally good, and a bond resolution authorizing the issuance of the bonds. After that, and before we can close, the tax exempt bond piece needs to be approved by the county executive. We've done that before with Woodland Pond. That's an IRS federal tax code requirement. If you want to issue tax exempt bonds, you need to have the applicable elected representative approve it. When I do deals in the city of Albany, it's the mayor. Here will be the county executive. It's a 3-page certificate that I prepare. And it's
We had one second.
incredibly rare for that ever to be a problem.
You know what? I got it.
I-
Do I have that
I
on my
just
calendar?
have a couple of really easy questions. One was about so who is the regulating entity for that? You said there has to be the separate agreement about what you're gonna use
There's
use
a
the
tax
property.
regulatory agreement
Is that
that the,
state?
no, that's the company, 501c3 executes that, and it's in favor of the issuer, and it's in favor of the bond trustee who looks out for the bondholders.
You know what it
So
is,
it's
go to
nothing
my
with the
other-
state, it's just, this is what
I
we
didn't
say we're
transfer it
gonna
over.
do.
Right, but somebody has to monitor that. Who monitors that?
They do.
That
They
so
do,
they have to.
They have
So
to.
it's self-regulating.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Same
Put
location,
it on.
And
and it's the same place.
can you use with the padding thing? I don't want to belabor this,
Yeah.
but
I guess I should have read up on it more.
no. But is there like there's shared infrastructure for that?
Yeah.
Is that bonding? Is that bondable versus, or is that you got to cut a line? You got
That's
to
a
do.
tax question. I'm
Okay,
not a tax
all
lawyer.
right, good enough.
but
All right.
We would obviously, that'd be part of the analysis of my
Okay.
tax partner.
that's part of construction though, right? Would it not?
I
Yeah,
don't
tax
know.
lawyer.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Activity construction.
I move we adjourn.
Okay, so, moving ahead here, any new business? Is there any new business? Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Randall?
Steve?